Hello, everybody. So we're looking at 16.1 and 16.2 today. This lesson deals with basically two different things. One is the finding the circumference of circles, and then one is finding the lengths of arcs of circles. All right. So yeah, still revolving all around circles. But go ahead and take a minute and get this title, and go ahead and get the formula here for finding the circumference of a circle, and we'll dig into it. Okay, so first things first, circumference of a circle. What is that? The circumference, all it is basically the distance around a circle. Okay, so you know how I guess long is the outside of that circle. That's the circumference of the circle. All right, and to find the circumference of a circle, all we have to do is use this simple formula. Circumference equals 2 times pi times r, which is the radius of the circle. All right, so couple things. First thing, I guess, radius is really the only thing we need to know to find our circumference. And the radius is the distance from the center of the circle to the edge. All right, so that right there would be a radius. Another thing that's on this circle that doesn't have, to do with our formula, at least at first, it seems like it doesn't, but the diameter. Okay, diameters of circles, we've seen that. Those are lines that go through the center. Here's something to know. The diameter, or I guess rather the radius of a circle, is half the length of the diameter. So if they were to tell us on this that our diameter was 10, this entire line here was 10, we would know that our radius was 5. And then we'd be able to plug that in and type it in and get our circumference, the distance around the circle. Okay. Another thing to know, pi. Pi is just a number. Okay, 3.14. It's a number that goes. That goes on forever, seemingly. But yeah, it's just a button that we click and we can find our circumference. So it's a really simple formula. So let's try it out. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do these two problems with you. Go ahead and copy them, and yeah, we'll try them together. All right, so they want us to find the circumference of the circle. Again, that is the distance around a circle. How long is that? So let's go ahead and try it out on number 2. So starting with our formula, it's worth writing again. So circumference equals 2 times pi times our radius. Okay, 2 pi r. All right, on this problem, they're giving us the radius. The radius is always from the center to the outside. They're saying it's 3. So in our formula, we've got 2 times pi times the radius, which is 3. And we just need to type this into our calculator. All right, so you can use your personal calculator. All you need to do is find that radius button. But if you don't have one, you can still use the GeoGebra one. So let's try it out. So 2 times pi times 3. So 2, there's my pi button. So pi, and then I'm curious if I can just click 3. I think, yeah, it knows that we're multiplying all of this together. Though, when in doubt, it wouldn't be a bad idea to, click times 3. But if we did that, I'm just checking here. Yeah, we would get the same answer. So we're getting 18.84. On most of these problems, we're still going to be rounding to one decimal place, the tenths. So that 4 tells me that this 8 stays in 8. So 18.8. Sorry. There we go. All right, so we got our circumference on this, which is 18.8. Here's the thing, we have units, so we want to put those in. So 18.8 inches. Okay, and again, that's how long the distance around this circle, this entire circle, is 18.8 inches long. Okay, that's what circumference means. Okay, on letter B, it's basically, the same thing. They're asking us to find circumference. Let's write our formula real quick. All right, on this problem, though, just be careful. They're not giving us the radius. They're giving us the diameter. Okay, so if our diameter is 10 inches, we know that our radius is going to be half of that, 5 inches. All right, and that's the only thing to realize on this. So we got circumference equals 2 pi times 5. And we just need to type that in. One big thing I noticed when people go to do these problems, it's not a bad idea to delete your previous step, because if you don't, it will often give you a wrong answer on this GeoGebra. Okay, just like you would clear out your calculator when you're doing a new step, you'd want to probably do that on this thing. Okay, so yeah, 2 pi 5, that's really how easy it is to type it in. we're getting 31.41, so that 4 just stays a 4, so 31.4. 31.4. On this one, we're still dealing with inches, so inches. Okay, so that's finding circumference. I'm gonna have you guys try out, I think, one of these on your own. Oh wait, no, we have one more to try out, and then I'll have you guys try one. So on this problem, a little different. They're asking us to find the radius, and they're giving us the circumference. Okay, copy this, and I'll show you what's going on. Okay, so first, let's just write our formula for circumference. Circumference equals 2 pi r. All right, this, though, again, is giving us the circumference. They're telling us it's 26 meters. Okay, just like always, when you guys plug in numbers, don't include the units. So I'm just going to put 26 for the circumference. Okay, and then over here, we have 2 pi r, which finding the radius, that's what we're looking for. Okay, so we're solving for r. Here's what we got. We have these two numbers that are being multiplied by r. We need to get rid of them by dividing. All right, here's something we can do. We can divide them individually. We could divide both sides by 2, and then we could divide both sides by pi. Or since they're both being multiplied, we can get rid of them at the same time by dividing both of them. But here's the big thing. When we go to divide them, we need to put parentheses around it if we want to divide them at the same time. Okay, so over here, 26 divided by 2 pi, putting it in parentheses. All right, so over on the right, those are gone. We have r by itself. Over on the left, this is what we need to type in our calculator, 26 divided by 2 pi, but we need to put it in parentheses in our calculator, all right, if we want to do it at the same time. All right, so let's try it out. So I'm going to clear this out real quick. So 26 divided by, and then parentheses, 2 pi. Okay, close parentheses, and I'm getting 4.13. So again, we're going to round to the tenths, 4.1 on this. Why does that keep happening? That's weird. All right, so yeah, 4.1. I'm going to flip it around. Radius equals 4.1. Our units are meters, so let's include those. Okay, so just really quick, let's say we didn't put parentheses here. We did 26 divided by 2 pi without parentheses. Let's see if that would get us the same answer. Maybe it would. Okay, 26 divided by 2 pi. Okay, when I do this, notice what I'm getting, 40.84. All right, 40.84. Here's what this thing thinks you're doing. It thinks you're dividing 26 by 2 and then multiplying by pi. All right, it's using order of operations. So that's why putting parentheses around it is absolutely necessary. You'll get the wrong answer. But think about it this way. If I got that answer, 40.8, does that make sense? Does it make sense for the radius of this circle to be 40.8 if the circumference is just 26? No, it doesn't. Okay, so if you make the mistake, think of it logically. Think if it makes sense. Does this, should this be 40.6 if the entire circumference is less? No. Okay, cool. So I'm gonna have you guys try out one of these on your own. All right, this letter A is doing the same thing, asking you to find the radius, and then when you guys get to letter B, you're doing where you're just finding the circumference. Okay, so go ahead and copy these, try them on your own. Okay, so on letter A, circumference equals 2 pi r. Always start by writing the formula. It's so simple, and it'll help you to kind of understand what you're plugging in and what you're solving for. Okay, on letter A, we know the circumference, 56, and what we're going to be solving for is our radius. All right, so just like before, if I want to solve for r, I need to get rid of 2 and pi. Okay, I could get rid of them individually, but I'm going to choose to do it at the same time. But if I do that, I must put parentheses around them to show I'm dividing by all 2 pi. Okay, same thing over here. Okay, so 56 divided by 2 pi. Let's see what we got. 56 divided by parentheses 2 pi, 8.91. And it looks like that means that 9 is just staying a 9, so 8.9. Okay, so I'm going to flip it around. Radius equals 8.9. Looks like our units are inches. Okay, letter B, asking us to find the circumference. Again, let's write out the formula real quick. Circumference equals 2 pi r. Okay, on this one, they are not giving us the radius. Careful, we don't want to plug in 11 for r. We want to plug in, because that's the diameter. We want to plug in the radius, which is going to be half of the diameter. All right, half of 11 is 5.5. All right, so that's what we got to plug in here. Circumference equals 2 pi times 5.5. All right, so let's go ahead and plug it in. Okay, on this one, whenever I put in the radius, I usually put parentheses around it, but it looks like when you type it into this, 2 pi 5.5, whether you put parentheses or not, you're going to get the same answer. But be careful, if you're using your own personal calculator, make sure it's doing it correctly. Okay, so I'm getting 34.55, so that 5 is going to round us up to a 6, so 34.6. All right, 34.6 looks like we're talking about feet on this one. There's our units. Okay, so that is a circumference formula. Pretty simple idea. From here, what we're going to do is move on to finding what's called arc length. All right, this formula looks a little scary, but you'll see it's actually a lot more simple than it looks. So copy this and I'll explain what's going on here. Okay, so this is the formula to find the length of an arc. All right, let's think about that for a second. An arc is just a piece of a circle. All right, so instead of finding the entire circumference, we're just finding part of the circumference or just the length of an arc. Okay, that's what we're doing here. That's what this formula helps us find. All right, so here's our formula. To find the length of an arc, we're just using generic AB here. Okay, here's what we need to do. We need to put in the measure of the arc, divide by 360, and then multiply by 2 pi r, which if you guys remember is the formula for circumference. Okay, so really there's only two things we need here. We just need the measure of the arc and we need the radius. If we have those two things, we can plug them in, type it into a calculator, and we'll find the length of the arc. Here's one distinction I want you guys to realize. The measure of an arc and the length of an arc are two different things. Okay, in previous lessons, we were finding the measure of arcs. If you guys remember, this right here, the measure of a central angle was the same as the measure of the arc. So if you guys, if this was, 40 degrees, we could say that our arc was 40 degrees. Okay, but that was not the length of the arc. That was the degree of the arc. You can think of it as like the curve of the arc. What is the degree of the curve? All right, that's what this gives us, or at least that's what we were looking at before. Now we're actually going to be finding the length of the arc. How long is this thing, in inches or feet or whatever it happens to be. Okay, so I just want you guys to make that distinction. I guess other thing, I already sort of pointed it out just now, but usually when they give it to find the measure of the arc, we're going to be using the central angle, all right, to find, that intercepted arc because again, they're the same. Okay, but just know this value right here, the only reason I call it the measure of the arc is because it gives us the measure of the arc. Okay, so probably overcomplicating it. Let's go ahead and try one of these. Okay, so yeah, find the measure of arc AB. Go ahead and copy this and we'll find it together. Okay, so let's go ahead and write this out. So they want us to find the length of our arc AB. So we're going to use our formula right here. So I'm going to say the length of arc AB equals, and I'm just going to write out the formula just to have it there, and then we'll plug in our parts. All right, so measure of arc AB divided by 360 divided by 360 times, just to go back, 2 pi r, which remember is circumference. All right, so we need two things. We need the measure of the arc and we need the radius. If you guys take a look over here, we have those. Where we can see that this measure of this central angle is 60 degrees. So that means the measure of this arc is also 60 degrees. The radius, they're also giving us the distance from the center to the outside. So we just need to plug these numbers in. So the length of arc AB equals the measure of our arc, which we can see is 60, divided by 360, times 2 pi radius, which our radius is 8. Okay, and this is what we need to plug into our calculator. Okay, and we're basically going to plug it in just like this. We'll see if we need to do anything special as far as like parentheses or whatnot. But yeah, let's go ahead and do it. So 60 divided by 360. So clear out your calculator. 60 divided by 360. All right, here's the thing. I'm trying to think. All right, well, we'll see what happens. So from here, times 2 pi 8. So times, okay, good. So this is automatically moving on to the next step and doing 2 times 2 pi 8. And then looks like we need to press enter on this. What's going on here? Answer? No. Let's see. Why is this being weird for me? We got to figure this out. So let's start this over. 60 divided by 360, and then times. Oh, interesting. I wonder why that. Maybe I pressed the wrong button before. So times 2 pi 8. Okay, so I don't know why it went on to the next step on that last one. That's weird. Okay, but yeah, we're getting 8.37. That 7 is going to round this 3 up to a 4, so 8.4. Okay, so the length of arc AB equals, I already forgot it, 8.4. And we're talking about centimeters on this thing. Okay, so there it is. Okay, so yeah, be careful with this. I ran into a problem, and I'm not really sure why it did that before, but it should work out. So try it on your calculator. If you're getting something different and you're not sure why, ask me some questions. Okay, so let's see. Let's try one more of these, and then I'm gonna have you guys try one on your own. Go ahead and copy this. We're gonna find the length of arc ACB. Go ahead and get this. Okay, so first let's write out our formula. By the way, when I normally write this formula out, I normally don't write length. I just put, the name of the arc and then I plug in my stuff. So from here on out, I probably won't say length, but that's what we're finding. Okay, so the length of arc ACB equals the measure of arc ACB divided by 360 times 2 pi r. Okay, so again, we need the measure of the arc, we need the radius. Okay, first thing I notice is we have the radius. Okay, here's the next more important thing. Arc ACB is this arc highlighted in red. All right, and here's the first thing we got to realize. This central angle is not giving us the measure of this arc, it's giving us the measure of this arc. Okay, so this is 120 degrees. So the question is how do we, use this to find this arc? Well, we just have to remember the entire circle is 360 degrees, right? So we can take 360, we can subtract the 120, and we can get the rest of the circle, which is exactly what we're looking for. Okay, so it looks like it's going to be 240 degrees. Okay, so that took an extra step, so just be careful. Sometimes we have to work our way to the measures that we need for our formula. Okay, so 240 degrees, that's what we're going to plug in here. So arc ACB equals 240 divided by 360. All right, times 2 pi radius, and yes, they are giving us our radius. They're saying it's 10, so times 10. Okay, so yeah, let's plug this in and see if our calculator gives us any problems again. So 240 divided by 360 times 2 pi 10. Okay, so clear it out. 240 divided by 360 times, okay, so that worked this time, 2 pi 10. All right, looks like I'm getting 41.88, so that 8's going to round this 8 up to a 9, so 41.9. Okay, so arc ACB equals 41.9. All right, and what's our units here? It looks like we're talking about feet. All right, and again, it's always a good thing to just think about it in the context of our circle, the radius is 10 feet. Does it make sense for this red line to be 41, almost, 42 feet? Yeah, yeah, it looks about, maybe 4 times as long as the radius. It might not always be to scale, but it's a good idea to think about it logically. Okay, cool. So last thing, I'm gonna have you guys go ahead and try one of these on your own. Go ahead and find the length of arc AB using the arc length formula, and then we'll finish up here. Okay, so writing out the formula real quick. The length of arc AB equals the measure of arc AB divided by 360 times 2 pi r. All right. I noticed the measure of my arc. I can find it. The central angle is 50 degrees, so I know my arc is also 50 degrees. All right, and they are giving us the radius, so we have our numbers to plug in. Let's go ahead and do it. So the length of arc AB equals 50 divided by 360 times 2 pi r, our radius, which is 13. Okay, so plugging this in, 50 divided by 360 times 2 pi 13. So 50 divided by 360 times 2 pi 15. All right, not 15, 13. Man, my memory is terrible, huh? Like, let's see, divided by 13. There we go. Okay, so I'm getting 11.34, so that 3 stays 3, so 11.3. So arc AB equals 11.3 units are centimeters, and there we have it. Okay, just taking a look real quick. Does it make sense for this arc to be 11.3 if our radius is 13? Yeah, maybe looks a little shorter. Okay, so that makes sense there. All right, guys. So that is circumference and arc length. I'll see you guys in class.